Foundation English 1, Semester 1, common to all UG first years. Today we will see Unit 2.2. Alice Fell of Poverty is your poem, written by William Wordsworth. We'll see about the poem. First, we'll see about the poet. William Wordsworth was an English romantic poet. He has written famous poems such as The Solitary Reaper, Daffodils, and Lucy poems. He is also called a nature poet as his poems are in the background of lofty hills and meadows. Okay, so because his poems all shadow out the lofty hills and meadows, we call him as a nature poet. Wordsworth became poet laureate in the year 1843 and is the only one not to write any official verses. He was praised as a poet of humanity by John Keble. So it's a very small gist about William Wordsworth we have. Let's go into the poem. Alice Fell or Poverty, the poem. Just I will read the poem for you so that you can follow me and we can see how far we can connect it with the explanation of the poem. The post boy drove with fierce career, for threatening clouds the moon had drowned. When, as we worried on, my ear was smitten with the startling sound. As if the wind blew many ways, I heard the sound, and more it seemed to follow with the chase, and still I heard it as before. At length, I to the boy called out. He stopped his horses at the word, but neither cry nor voice nor shout, nor aught else like it could be heard. The boy then smacked his whip, and fast the horses scampered through the rain, but hearing soon upon the blast the cry I bade him halt again. Forthwith alighting on the ground, where comes, said I, this piteous moan? And there a little girl I found, sitting behind the chaise alone. My clock, no other word she spoke, but loud and bitterly she wept, as if her innocent heart would break, and down from off her seat she leaped. What ails you, child? She sobbed. Look here, I saw it in the wheel entangled, a weather-beaten rag as air. From any garden scarecrow dangled. There, twisted between nave and spoke, it hung nor could at once be freed. But our joint pains unloosed the clock, a miserable rag indeed. And whither are you going, child? Tonight alone these lonesome ways? To Durham, to Durham, answered she, half wild. Then come with me into the chaise. Insensible to all relief sat the poor girl, and forth did send sob after sob, as if her grief could never have an end. My child in Durham, do you dwell? She checked herself in her distress, and said, my name is Alice Fell. I am fatherless and motherless. And I to Durham, sir, belong. Again, as if the thought would choke her very heart, a grief grew strong, and all was her tattered cloak. The chaise drove on, our journey's end was nigh, and sitting by my side, as if she had lost her only friend, she wept nor would be pacified. Up to the tavern door we post. Of Alice and her grief I told, and I gave money to the host to buy a new clock for the old, and let it be of duffel grey, as warm a clock as man can sell. Proud creature was she the next day, the little orphan Alice Fell. So beautifully, William Wordsworth has featured this particular poem, Alice Fell or Poverty. Let's have a brief discussion about this poem. The poem Alice Fell or Poverty has three characters. The character of a postboy who is driving the cart, the narrator, maybe a male or a female, not mentioned, and a girl named Alice who was on the way to the place called Durham. The poem starts with the postboy driving the cart as it is past evening and the sky is cloudy. The passenger heard a sound that was slightly shocking as it was getting dark. The wind was fierce and they riding fast. But still, the sound got closer as if it was traveling along with the chase. So you can see the characters traveling in the cart. The postboy, the character, the narrator may be a male or a female, not mentioned. And then one more girl named Alice, and it is evening, and we could see they are all traveling. The passenger called the postboy to stop the cart, but the sound of a cry was heard again and again. The boy whipped the horse so as to move from the place, and the passenger heard the cry louder as if something had exploded. He again asked the boy to stop the cart. The passenger got down and asked the boy about the pitiful sound. The passenger found a little girl sitting behind the carriage. She was alone and was sobbing and crying, showing the clock. She was bitterly weeping and did not say a word that other than that, and she got down from the seat of the carriage. The passenger inquired why she was crying like this. Then he found that the clock was torn and it was hanging at the scarecrow in the fields. The clock got tangled and she could not loosen it, and she was miserable and sad. So one thing that made the girl cry was when the passenger asked why is she sobbing, why is she crying, she said that because of a cloak that is torn, which has been miserably hanging in the scarecrow on the fields. So she was not convinced. She was crying again and again. Only one thing which the passenger could do is to inquire like what was slightly making her cry, and she had come out with that beautiful saying note saying that because of the cloak that has been tangled. The passenger asked the girl uh, her whereabouts as it was night and she was alone. The girl replied that she was going to the town to Durham. He offered the girl to come and sit aside with him. So he asked her where she's going, and he offered, or she offered, we don't know the narrator. And they gave her some place. She was not listening to any of the confronting words and went on crying, sobbing. It felt as if the grief would be never ending. Like she's not going to, forget that particular incident. So the passenger asked her about her house. Then she replied that her name was Alice Fell and she had no parents and she wanted to go to Durham. The tone clock was making her worry rather than being an orphan. The sorrow was intense. So she was not even worried about that she is an orphan, but she was much worried about that she had a tone that she has lost her cloak. The destination of the passenger arrived, and that was the end of the journey. The girl was still crying and couldn't calm down. So Alice had thought that the passenger was leaving her in the inn and going away. The passenger gave money to the innkeeper to buy a new clock in the grey for the little girl. He felt at least the warmth of the new clock would give comfort. So she would feel proud to wear a new clock and miss being the poverty and also an orphan. Passenger or the narrator states the journey of Aliceville. So he was so very sad like seeing this girl crying. So what he decided to pay the innkeeper some money, and he told her to give her some new clock so that the girl might forget that sorrow and she'll be happy with the new clock. And this is the journey of the girl Alice Fell. So this is what is a description of the poet William Wordsworth, trying to state that how during Romanticism people were not at all knowing what was the grief or the sorrow that was happening around them, and they were running their thinking towards the missionary world. So he want to pull back or bring one episode like a picture before us stating that how people are in this world, and it's like we are not trying to show any kind of concerns to them. So this is what is that which he tries to convey in this poem. So we could see chase, glossary, if you see chase, a horse drawn carriage, then cloak, a type of loose coat without sleeves, and then tavern, a barn or an inn, moan, a long deep sleep sound, pacify, to calm somebody who's upset, tattered, old and don't startle, slightly shocking. And then if you see question answers, who are the characters? You can see four characters: the postboy, the passenger, the little girl, and the innkeeper. Okay, and what did the passenger hear inside the cart? He heard a noise. The traveler was louder. He stopped the carriage for a minute to hear the sound. Again, when the boy drove the cart, he could hear the distant cry of a girl. And then describe the plight of the little girl was sobbing throughout as her clock was torn and told her name was Alice Well and she didn't have a father or a mother. The girl said that she wants to go to Durham, which implies that she is an orphan and she belongs to the town and doesn't have any relation or a house. And then the two stanzas, last two stanzas, the conversation between the passenger and the little girl was in the 13th stanza of the poem. In the last two stanzas, the passengers wants to see the little girl happy. Okay, so he gave money to the innkeeper to buy a new duffel coat in a grey color for her. The girl felt happy. The poet, through the passenger, says that the little act of being kind will bring joy to the poor. So that is what William Wordsworth trying to say over here. Like there are so many people who are left without any kind of home. So this was a plight of the Britishers during those days. So he wants to pull the crowd. He wants to show how people are suffering. So that is the only hidden thought or a message behind this poem, Alice Well or Poverty. So the rhyme scheme you could see A B A B C A C A D B D B D E D and so on. Some of the rhyme scheme words from the poem are career, here, drowned, sound, out, shout, post, host. So these are the things you can say. So this is all about your poem Alice Well or Poverty. You can read the poem once again by pausing the videos and learning it. Thank you. Meet you in the next video.